Yes, welcome to the very first GameFace Footy Show. Great privilege to be here. For those of you that don't know me, my name's Dan Lonergan. I'm a long-time sports broadcaster. In fact, some would say too long. I'm getting pretty old, almost 30 years, including 18 years with the ABC as a football caller, AFL caller, soccer caller. I was involved in 3 Olympic Games. The London Olympics was certainly my highlight, loved every minute of it. Commonwealth Games, also Australian Open tennis and international cricket. But compared to the man who's my co-host, going to be with us every single week on this show, I'm a nobody. I'm joined tonight and every week, as I say, by 5-time premiership player and coach, a legend in this part of the world in football, in the MPNFL, Tony Blackford. Blackers, great to have you with us.
It's a pleasure, Dan, pleasure. And I look forward to working with you for the year, Dan, down here at the Institute of Chisholm at the studios here in Dandenong. We'll be pre-recording this show every Monday.
We sure will be, making it available every Thursday night at 7:30, and you can download it on your GameFace app.
Gee, Dan, I wish they had a show like this when I was a young bloke playing football, and then go into the club rooms and sit down and have my meal with my teammates and watch the show unfold.
Now, when you were having a meal, what did you eat? Was it pasta every Thursday night?
We used to have a bit of pasta, yeah. But then as we went on, a bit of variety. You used to have a parma or a steak.
Bit different nowadays, of course.
Remember the old Kevin Bartlett, mate? He used to have fish and chips every
Friday night, and he played a great game every week. Now, big show for our first show. Winners and losers from Division 2 with a close look at the Kooringal and Red Hill match, which was an absolute cracker. Kooringal getting up by a point, and Kooringal assistant coach, and he was on the Brisbane Lions list for a few years. Luke Forsyth will join us in the studio. A special guest tonight is a former AFL player, played 95 games, 81 with the Bulldogs, 14 with the Gold Coast Suns, and he's now playing with his old club. Great to have him back in the competition, the Frankston Bombers. Yeah, Spindleshanks, Jared Grant. And we'll also look at the winners and losers from Division 1 with a very close look at the game that Jared Grant was involved in. Kicked 3 goals, the Frankston Bombers beating Sorrento. We'll have a great segment. You'll be a big part of that, Blackers, every week. Team of the week. Our experts will select who they think deserve to be in the team for the week for both Division 1 and 2 for the seniors and the under-19s. And last but not least, we've got a big show coming up in this part of the world later in the year, and it's going to be the biggest show in town, Blackers. We're going to see which MPNFL players have put their hand up to fight each other in the ring. And
it's exciting, isn't it?
It is. And one of the all-time greats of Australian sport, especially boxing, Barry Michael's going to be a guest on the show, not just this week, but every week.
Yeah, and he was a guest at the Kooringal Football Club luncheon on Saturday.
Yes, absolutely fantastic. Did a great job, I hear. Now, I'm going to need your help, Blackers. You're going to have to hold my hand throughout the year.
I'll look after you, Dan.
I'm the new kid on the block, not quite up to speed with all the local news. In fact, I know nothing, but I am a fast learner, except when I'm trying to find my car keys and do my shoelaces up.
Yeah, I'll look after you, mate.
Good on you. Great to have you with us, and let's get into the show.
Well done, boy.
Now, talk about a league full of headlines, Tony. Tell me if I've missed anything, because that's my job, is to get to the bottom of all these stories.
Well, there's been a lot of them, hasn't there?
It has been. It's been good for those in the media that like to get involved in the stories off the field, even though we like talking plenty of footy, which we will very shortly.
Yeah, but in the off-season, that's when the stories are there, Dan.
Has there been more than you thought there would be?
Oh, there's been some big ones.
The Hastings one?
Well, the Hastings one, like they got fined $10,000 from the league for
breaching the salary cap.
Breaching the salary cap. They're having trouble with their sports club in the Hastings Sports Club with revenue, because they're not going as well as they used to. So that was a big part of their salary for the year. So why not? Let's get my mate Kev Miles in. He'll talk about what's happened down there, and he's the best person.
I want to talk about the point system as well regarding that, because I'm not sure that all clubs involved in local footy are really adhering to the point system. But we'll get back to that later. Now, the clubs of the Mornington Peninsula Nepean Football League have fought off AFL South East. And I knew about this from the man in charge of AFL South East, John Anderson, from introducing the SEFNL competition.
Yeah, the SEFNL.
Yeah, to make sure that there were 3 competitions and you basically had 3 divisions.
Yes.
As a legend of the game, and I know you play with Berwick, who's in the SEFNL, and you've also been involved with the Frankston Bombers and Sorrento.
Yes.
How do you feel about that Mornington Nepean are on their own?
Oh, I think it's wonderful. When I first started, back in '85, we had Mornington Peninsula League, and we had the Nepean Football League. Those two amalgamated to become the Mornington Nepean Football League. And then later
you were
on,
happy with that?
Yeah, and then what happened then was that we had First Division and Second Division, and in time, what happened was we became 3 divisions, and we brought in the Casey Football League, which was the Cranbournes, the Berricks and the Narry Warrens and all that sort of stuff. So we had 3-tiered division. But I think what's happened now has been great for the Mornington Peninsula football. The results have really shown it, and we've embraced it. We've got 22 clubs from Sorrento to Edithvale across to Devon Meadows in that little vicinity. So we don't have to travel, we just travel up and down the highway.
Now, you know someone really well that could probably help us with that, because he got heavily involved in ensuring it didn't happen, correct?
I got me mate Stick Fat with the bat, Chris Sharman from the Frankston Bombers Football Club.
Why do they call him that?
His little nickname is Batty. Wait until you see him, Dan. You'll understand why they call him Wombat.
They call him Wombat.
They call him Wombat. So we've got to Stick Fat with the bat, and that's what they did last year. They stacked Fat with him, and he's the man. He's overseas in Bali at the moment.
Lucky man.
When he gets back, he missed Frankston Bombers' big win last week,
which we're going to talk about very, very soon. Now, it's very sad, a few weeks ago, a legend in the media down here. I unfortunately didn't have the pleasure of meeting Andrew Kelly, the man they call Toe Punt, but the Toe Punt Shield. Now, round 1, after such a massive build-up about the Nepean Premier Sorrento taking on the Peninsula League Premiers in YCW, it ended up a fizzer. YCW won by 10 goals, and we thought, uh-oh, Sorrento in for a shocking year. They then won their next 6, got beaten on the weekend. Again, we'll discuss that shortly as well.
Yeah, we'll discuss that.
Do you think Sorrento can get them next time round, or do you think it'll be much closer?
Look, I think it'll be a lot closer. I think what's happened is from that game, YC definitely had their best list for the season. And since then, some of those guys have gone and played VFL football. They've got a lot of injuries, long-term injuries. I think that Sorrento, next time around, the game will be a lot closer.
And the other big issue, and I had a good look at the ladder, and I saw that Edithvale Aspendale had a percentage of 101, and other teams around them who've had similar number of wins in First Division and are firmly ensconced in the top 5 like Edithvale Aspendale is that, of course, they won their first game of the year, but then got stripped of the points, stripped of the percentage. They beat Bomb Beach by 7 goals because Bomb Beach worked out that they obviously miscalculated the player points, which Edithvale Aspendale are furious about, aren't they?
Yeah, and I think what's happened now, so we're going to have to be careful about this one because there's gone to an appeals.
Yeah.
So they're challenging what's happened, but they're really struggling to fit everyone in on a regular basis.
Well, that's their problem, isn't it? I mean,
well, that's right. So they've obviously got a clause in their appeal, so they're going to focus on that.
Well, we'll wait and see, because that could be very important for Edithvale Aspendale going forward. Now, Nick Jewell's a mate of mine. He's a mate of a lot of people down here, former first-class cricketer. He had a tough time of it last year. I did a lot of cricket commentary with Nick when he retired after an outstanding career with the Bushrangers, won a couple of Shield finals in a row. What went on with Nick Blackers? There was some controversy regarding some coaching appointments that did and didn't happen and then did happen, and then he aborted one, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Obviously, he was coach of Sorrento last year, and then he obviously terminated halfway through the year, and then he had opportunities, I think, with Coringal and Pines during the off-season, and then those didn't eventuate, and then he ended up the line on the highway and coaching Seymour.
Too far.
Way too far. I think at that time, I think Nick was thinking about moving up that way, and that's why he took on the job. That move didn't eventuate. Work was still stable down here, and after 4 rounds, they had a mutual agreement to terminate.
There seems to be a little bit more that meets the eye with that story, Blackers. I'm not 100% convinced about it.
Yeah, well, we might talk to Nick later on in the year about that.
Well, as I say, we both know him really well. Now, anything else, Blackers, that I've missed?
That would be about it, wouldn't it?
I heard about a major coaching appointment that, again, didn't happen. Was it a bloke with curly hair?
Yeah, well, that was... it didn't eventuate.
By the way, Blackers has got curly hair, as you can see. Things
didn't eventuate, and obviously, look, at this stage, I'm still working through some negotiations with Sorrento, and I know that they'll eventually do the right thing. So I don't want to say too much about that, but yeah.
Take away the club, are you missing the coaching, or would you prefer to work with me?
No. I do miss the coaching. I do miss that interaction with the players and all that sort of stuff.
Well, we're here to talk footy. Let's do it. Great pleasure, Blackers, that we have on our program today the assistant coach of Coringal in Luke Forsyth. Welcome, Luke. Good to have you with us.
Cheers, mate. Good to be on board.
It's all happening, of course, at Coringal last Saturday. You had the Sponsors Day, you had the seafood lunch, you had the world champion boxer, one of the all-time greats, Barry Michael, in attendance. You had, unfortunately for your team, injuries galore, but fortunately for your team, a one-point victory in a thriller. It was an interesting old day for you.
It was a big day at the Bullpit on Saturday. We went in trying to get 3 wins, and we came out with 2 huge wins. But yeah, the 19s couldn't quite get it done against probably the yardstick of the competition, and the 2s had a good win. And the 1s, yeah, it was a nail biter in the end.
We got off to a great start. 15 points to 3 at quarter time, and then they sort of took control, Luke, didn't they?
Yeah, we knew what we were going to get, Blackers, with Red Hill. They were going to come, and it was going to be turned into a fight and a low score and affair. And to their credit, they took it right up to us and nearly snatched it.
And they had a 6 or 7 point lead at 3/4 time.
Yeah, 6 or 7 point lead at 3/4 time, and we're sitting there about to go into the huddle, and we threw the magnet board because we were down to none on the bench, and we just said to the boys, let's back our pre-season in. We know we've done the work, and balls to the wall for 30 minutes.
How do you cope with that? I mean, if you've got no one on the bench able to come on, and the opposition have got players on the bench, how do you try and get through it and the game's so tight?
Yeah, look, we've had to call on it a couple of times. With the boys, to their credit, we had a massive pre-season. We got a real big buy-in from the group, and we knew that if we all pulled together, we could get somewhere. And we had to call upon it at 3/4 time, and we just said, let's throw caution to the wind. It's going to be a slug. It's going to be hard work, but the reward's there at the end, and to the boys' credit.
And especially key players like Callum Dixon went down, Todd Farrelly went down as well, and he's probably been one of your most consistent players for the year.
Yeah, Todd's been massive back at the K's this year. He'd be leading our B. If he's not leading it, he'd be right up there in the BNF. We give him the toughest job each week to play on the best forward, and the forward comes away with a goal if he's lucky. So to lose Todd in the first quarter, real early, Cal went down just before half time. So we went into half time with 2 on the bench. And at 3/4 time we had none. So yeah, we're up against it. But to the boys' credit, we dug deep.
Red Hill had some injuries. Andrew Mock went off with what looked a pretty serious injury.
Yeah. He put his head over it and walked away with a couple of broken ribs and a punctured lung apparently. So poor kid. Wish him all the best.
He all right?
But yeah, I saw a photo floating around last night that he looked in good spirits with his Red Hill jumper on laying on the hospital bed. So I think Grant Goodall might owe him to drop him off an ice cream or 2 just to make sure that recovery goes well. But yeah,
it's been a real close season. And we'll talk about other games, but there's not much in this competition. And if you're not quite on, you're going to get rolled. And to Red Hill, like they just got over just missed out last week against Rye, Chelsea early on in the season. So they haven't been able to snatch a big scalp. They've just been able to lose those close games.
Yeah, we spoke about it Thursday night. They probably circled us and said that we're probably the scalp they needed to launch their season. So we knew the boys were ready for it, and we started well. But to their credit, they just dominated that second and third quarter. And
Siverson was outstanding across half-back.
Yeah, floated up and down half-back. He dominated the first half, and we said to Jake Archdeacon, we need you to go back and play a role and make him accountable. And Jake kicked 2 on him in that third quarter, which probably just kept us in it because we were going in and our entries were just getting cut off.
Yeah, he's a great intercept.
Yeah.
Can I ask you about Grant Goodall? You mentioned that he went through Andy Mock. Now, he returned from Mount Eliza. They'd say he'd been on a pretty good paddock at the start of the season, but he's moving quite well. Now, when he came back to the club, Luke, were you thinking, gee, what have we got here?
Yeah, as Black has said earlier...
He's a garbologist, right? He's a garbologist.
But
and the good old days in the garbology, they used to run behind the truck, but now the truck picks up their bins, so he sits in the truck.
That's how Paul Couch won the 89.
Yeah, that's right.
He did. He got fit by being a garbologist in the pre-season of 88 going into 89.
Grant's just got to press a button and apparently it lifts your bin up and throws it in. So it's not rocket science. Grant will tell you it is. But
to his credit, Dan, sorry to interrupt, Luke, but he went on a diet. He did some hard work, and he put in the best pre-season.
How much did he lose, you reckon?
I reckon he went to pre-season saying he needed to lose 25 kilos, and I reckon he lost more than that. He was at every Tuesday, Thursday, Wednesday, Monday, Wednesday during the pre-season, and the boys love him around the group, and he's really good for the group. When we need something from the playing group, he pulls them together and makes it make sense.
He'll be the first one to say that his time in the past, he was always the first one off the track and had excuses for not training. Anyway, so I think it's great for him because he's been rewarded by playing great football that we know that Grant Goodall can.
Yeah, he'd be team of the year ruckman at the moment. I reckon he'd be putting his hand up.
Him and Harry Pryor.
Yeah.
There's not much between those two, I don't think.
Now, Luke, as we mentioned a bit earlier, had a big luncheon down there, big seafood luncheon. The great Barry Michael was down there. There's a very special boxing event occurring later in the year. We'll hear from Barry a bit later in the program, as I mentioned. Now, one of your players is a bit keen to have a bit of a go in the ring, Bailey Frey. Let's have a look at what he said at the luncheon.
This young man is one of your footballers who's put his hand up to have a three 2-minute round fight. Exhibition. It'll be with bigger gloves, but he's actually put his hand up. I think I've asked you before, you haven't actually picked anyone that you would like to have a crack at?
And I don't think I will for a little bit. I'll see how it goes. I just put my hand up for the club, and I thought if anyone was going to do it, I'm sure a few people want to hit my head, so I'll take one for the team.
He's a bit of a character, isn't he? How do you reckon he'd go?
That sums up Bailey.
He's a bit like his old man, isn't he?
It sums up Bailey to a T. He's a bit like his old man. Get a couple of beers into him and he'll commit to anything. But it's really good what GameFace are putting on. I reckon there might be a couple of other boys putting their hand up. If you get the McGuinness brothers in the ring, I think they'd hug it out. But the Farrellies, if you got them in the ring, they'd go toe-to-toe for 3 rounds. And it might be a good spectacle. So.
Well, let's see what happens. As I say, we'll talk to Barry Michael a bit later about this very special event occurring later in the year. Looking at the other results from Division 2 and the seniors, and Crew Point had a 15-point win over Devon Meadows.
That was their first win for the year.
Yeah, well done to the Maggies. Blackers, great win by them.
Yeah, great win by them. I mean, they've been getting pumped most weeks, and I think it's a great win for their club and morale.
Hastings 84 beat Rye 78. We're going to be hearing from Josh Moore a little bit later, and he of course is the coach of Rye. That was a tight match, one that got away, 4th against 5th on the table. It may not cost Rye a spot in the finals, but they've got to win the post one.
Hastings needed to win that. I really think that they have sort of been having a slow start, so to speak, Luke. They haven't really beaten anyone, and Rye's been playing wonderful football, so I think that's important for Hastings and their group of blokes.
Yeah, especially at home too, they need to get that one.
Can you beat Dramana, Luke? 159 to Pearsdale 48, 111 points. You'd have to say they're the yardstick at the moment.
Mate, they're definitely the yardstick. They keep getting, the challenges keep getting up and they just keep knocking them down. But unfortunately, we don't meet them until the pointy end of the year if we're both successful.
Ben Holmes, the bloke who's been kicking a few goals for him, he's gone down with a medial injury at the moment, so he'll miss a few. He helps structure them quite well.
Yeah,
that team you played with, Luke, Somerville, they had a very good win over Tyab. The Yabbies were no match for the Eagles. Somerville 132, Tyab 50, an 82-point win. You've got them in a couple of weeks. How are they looking?
Yeah, Sammy, they've strung a couple together now, so I think they'll be thereabouts. I think Everett bobbed up and kicked 7, so
he's got to do that a little bit more consistently against better opposition sides.
Yeah, Andres Everett we're talking about played with a number of AFL teams. Good to have him in the competition where he started his career many moons ago. And Blackers, you saw another thriller, high-scoring thriller too, between Langwarrin and Chelsea.
Yeah, Langwarrin and Chelsea, and at three-quarter time, I really thought that Langwarrin wouldn't get over the line, but they were able to kick 34 points in the last quarter, and Jesse Murphy's been in outstanding form. I think what they did, they had a past players day down there, and they really got behind their local boys, and the under-19 boys were sitting behind the goals, making sure that Chelsea, every time they had a shot at goal, that they were distracted. And they had a shot late in the game, but it was a point, so there was a big cheer for that. But a wonderful effort by Josh Beard and Blake McCormack, because I think that they have got a really good win there. Let's
look at the ladders. We'll start with the under-19s first. And Blackers, you've got the under 19 ladders, and then we'll get to the reserves and also the seniors. Let's look at the ladders in Division 2, the top 5 in the under 19s. Red Hill, as we mentioned, dominating. Percentage of 371.78, unbeaten on 28 points. Coringal second, good percentage too of 315.23 on 24. Somerville 24, Crib Point 20, and Lang Warren making up the top 5 on 16, and their percentage is 72% better than Rye, also on 16 in 6th position.
And Luke, all of those sides have always had good kids. Crib Point over the last few years, Somerville's always had a good side. Coringal have done really well, and Red Hill, obviously the under-19 premiers from last year.
Yeah, correct, Black. It's the same sides up there all the time, and it's good to see most of those kids flowing through and playing senior footy as well.
Now in the reserves, it is as tight as a drum, boys. We've got 5 teams making up the top 5, all on 20 points, all separated by percentage. What a great competition. Somerville 20 points, a percentage of 249.78. Coringal on 20, 193.26. Rye on 20, a percentage of 166.41. Red Hill also on 20, their percentage 147.78. And then Hastings 107.56 on 20, but breathing down their neck in 6th position on 16 points with the third best percentage in the competition is Lang Warren at 168.75. So they're certainly lurking at the moment, aren't they?
Yeah, and Langy's had a few injuries at the moment, and I know probably a lot of clubs do, but I find that the depth at reserves level at the moment, Luke, isn't what it used to be. Nah,
it's tight at the top, and we've played I think 3 of those sides that you mentioned, and each time you go out there, it could easily be a different result, Blackers. So it's good to see. It's good for the footy, and it's going to be a race to the end.
Talking of a race to the end, the seniors the same. Dramana unbeaten 28 points, Coringal 24, Chelsea 20, Hastings 16, and Rye making up the top 5, 16. Half a game ahead of, as we said, the almost team Red Hill on 14, Lang Warren now on 14, Somerville on 12, and it falls away a bit after that. Devon Meadows 8, Pearsdale 8, Tyab 4, and Crib Point on the bottom with a win. And they're also on 4 points, 48.15. Now the goal kickers,
and Dan,
tell us about those.
The top 5 or 6 goal kickers: Jesse Murphy from Lang Warren Leeds, Curtis Bywater from Chelsea. Both had outstanding games on the weekend, 7 and 6 goals. Luke Hewitt, he's a wonderful goal kicker, and he played in the Interleague as well. Billy Rolfe and Ethan Johnson make up the top 6, and once again, Ethan Johnson on the weekend bobbed up for another 4.
He's a dangerous footballer, Blackers. He's
very elusive.
Yeah, he kicked 4 against us, and I love watching him play. I reckon he kicked the best goal I've ever seen from a pocket over his head out of mid-air. But yeah, sides have got to put a bit of time into him. He's their barometer up forward.
And just the players that are leading in the best players of the season so far, Terran Head is right up there. Billy Quigley, Brendan Doyle from Tyab, so well done to him. Tommy Baker and Thomas Redmond from Hastings are the top 5 there.
Thanks very much, Tony. Thank you, Luke. Great to have you with us. Coringal having a good season in the reserves, and also the seniors. A little birdie told me you might be making a comeback. The comp will certainly be better if you can get out there playing some good footy later in the year. Good luck to Coringal for the rest of the year, and we thank you for joining us on our program, and let's hope Coringal keep playing great footy. Thanks, Luke.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
We'll go to a break. Back with more shortly on the GameFace Footy Show.
Websites, videos, Google marketing, SEO. What do you need for your business? Call the team at Chill. They really know their stuff.
Are you looking for new ways to promote your business? Well, why not advertise on the GameFace Footy Show? Packages start from as little as $500, which include commercials on the show, naming rights to segments, infomercials in the app, and more. And if you really want to get noticed, you could become the major sponsor of the show. Packages are limited, so contact GameFace now to get started by going to www.gamefaceon.com.au.
Attack from Campbell, threads it out. Grant, stand start, kick a goal. Hot start, Dogs. Grant's been able to control it, bit by bit by bit. Oh, and he's kicked it, has he? He has. Grant, 20 from goal. Sidesteps, Bootsma, lifted it over his head.
That's what he's there for. Beautiful work got on the end of it all.
And it's a great pleasure to welcome Jared Grant to the program. Welcome, Jared. Great to have you with us.
Great to have you, Jared.
Thank you for having me.
We've just seen some highlights, of course, of your AFL career between when it was with the Bulldogs and also the Gold Coast. What did you learn about yourself as an AFL player over the time that you spent in the competition?
Yeah, there wasn't many highlights there, I noticed, but
there are enough. 29 goals in 2010, combining with Barry Hall.
Yeah,
nearly 100 games, mate. Wonderful effort.
Yeah, didn't get to raise the bat, but we'll talk about that later. But what did I learn about myself? A lot. To get through 10 years, I guess if you look at, I had a 10-year career with only 95 games, so that's really only a 9.5 game average. Most players would be pushed out and moved on, so I'd like to think I was quite resilient, picked myself up off the canvas, and a lot of times people have probably written me off. So to make it back and to get a great chance to have another 2 years at the Gold Coast probably was testament to Rocket's thoughts on my character and what I could offer.
I read that you said you found it hard to put on weight. Why?
I tried a lot of different diets.
And you would have had the best dietitians around, and they would have put you on programs and weight programs.
Yeah. I mean, one dietitian we had is now at the Boston Celtics. So I mean, at the end, he's probably at the top of his game. Look, I did 4 gym sessions a week. No one would ever know that, but I did that for my 10-year career. I'd be in there with the first and second year players, basically as the only older guy. It just didn't happen for me. It's just my body shape. Come 5-10 years, I might be saying something different, but just never happened.
And you had a great relationship with Rocket, even though he can be pretty fiery. Why did you get on so well with him?
I came in at a really good time. Some really good leaders that I guess taught me some really fantastic ways to go about my footy, not just my footy, but my lifestyle in general. And we came in, and I played, lucky enough to play in prelims under Rocket. We 3 prelims in a row we lost, which was disappointing, but life goes on. So I guess Rocket had a trust and a faith in me that I could play a role that he wanted, and Rocket was a very attacking game stylist, which suited me to a T, being fast and agile. So I think that's why we had a great connection.
When you left the club, was Daniel Gin Siracusa the most relieved man because he wouldn't get every day someone constantly coming up to him and saying "fast on"? Where did that come from?
He started to get the grey hairs, which I'm starting to get a couple of myself actually. So we used to have a lot of fun together. The last year was probably difficult because he moved into an assistant coaching role, which our relationship had to be a bit more respectable rather than player v player. But
as it does.
Yeah, so I still chat to him and some of the older guys that I grew up under.
But isn't footy clubs great where you've got that banter, you know?
I love it. I mean, if we didn't have that at footy clubs and we just had every personality exactly the same, you'd almost be robots going out on the field every week.
Have you still got some great mates from the Dogs and also Gold Coast?
Yeah, I still speak. Actually, quite funnily, probably speak to a lot more players from the Gold Coast now. It's funny how you change clubs and you kind of get caught in the bubble of the playing list that you're on and where you've recently come from.
But that's just like friendships as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Jared, so when you go from primary school to high school, you mingle with different people.
Yeah, and I still speak to Bob Murphy and Daniel, obviously, Gian Siracusa, Will Minson of recent times. But I've got some good friends in Michael Barlow, Trent McKenzie and Brandon Materia who are still running around currently for not the Gold Coast as such, but other clubs.
How have you enjoyed going back to the Bombers, mate?
To be honest, I had no expectations of coming back and what my, I guess, output was going to be. I just wanted to fit in and play footy again and not have the pressures of playing at the highest level.
And you've got to, obviously you haven't worked. When I say worked, you haven't done a normal 9 to 5 job.
Yeah, it's probably more 8 to 6 time, to be honest with you, real estate game. But really enjoyed it. And like I said, I didn't want to place too many expectations on my footy life because I'm obviously transitioning into for the first time a real job as such.
Yes.
And it's been fantastic, and I've enjoyed, I guess, what the footy club's offered me, and you know, their understanding of my working hours as well. With I only really get to the games around 1 o'clock on a Saturday, which people wouldn't know.
Hopefully you've done a couple of deals by then.
Yeah, a couple of auction on the weekend and then a win on the weekend. So celebrate with a couple of beers afterwards.
Were you surprised that when Rocket left, that you didn't get another opportunity under Stewie Dewar? Did you feel that as soon as he was let go, that your days as an AFL player were numbered?
Probably knew in my last year that my number was probably getting close to an end. Look, I'm understanding of a rebuild at a footy club and the Gold Coast not playing finals for a significant amount of time, and me not being on the park last year, that my number was probably up. Look, I managed to play the last game. Rocket brought me in for his last game before he was sacked, actually, and I had the 20 touches and got dropped the next week. But I had a good chat to the club that week and understand the direction they were going, and got to be involved in the first finals campaign that the reserves had been involved in, and yeah, enjoyed that for the latter part of the year.
And of course, you were at the Gold Coast when the Dogs won the flag.
Yeah.
No doubt you were following the Dogs. What was that like as a former player who got close to the mountain once in 2010?
Yeah, I was obviously, to be open and honest, disappointing for myself that you know, you put 8 years of hard work at a club, and look, I've got no remorse towards them or anyone that made the decision to move me on. I understand that how a footy club works and how cutthroat it can be, and I was really, you know, very happy for former mates, former teammates as to the ultimate success at a club, and look, disappointing for me, but the sun comes up the next day and you move on. And
what's your nickname at the Bombers? Is it Spindle Shanks? I suppose you knew that James Brayshaw at Triple M gave you the nickname Spindle Shanks.
Yeah, many nicknames, many opposition sledges already this year. It's pretty difficult to get under my skin, to be honest with you, so you call me up whatever you like, it doesn't bother me.
Well, you look pretty laid back, and that's great. It's great having you with us. Now, Jared, with the great man sitting next to you, one of the all-time greats of the local competition, Blackers. Now, you'd be aware that he's a club legend down at the Frankston Bombers. Do you know if they have a statue? I haven't been down there yet to the ground, but I plan to get down there eventually, hopefully, if I'm invited. Do they have a statue of him out the front of the ground, a life-size portrait, either outside the ground or in the rooms? I heard a rumour they did, but it wasn't life-size.
Yeah, they're putting it near the netball courts, would you believe it or not? I mean, they put those netball courts in over the last few years, and Blackers' statue
it's changed a lot, hasn't it?
It was second preference, you all, our statue to the netball courts, but they're
they had to spend the money on the netball courts, I think, Dan.
Ahead of the statue for you, Blackers. Are you a Frankston Bombers man or a Sorrento man, Blackers? We'll talk more about that.
I played all my junior football at Frankston Bombers, Frankston Rovers, Frankston Bombers, and then I went off and coached, and Sorrento was my third club that I'd coached.
So Frankston Bombers is where the heart is.
Berwick and Sorrento, yeah.
Very good. All right, Blackers, we'll come back and talk more football with Blackers and also Jared Grant very shortly on the Game Show, on the GameFace Footy Show. Results from the match that we're taking a close look at, and that is the game between the Frankston Bombers and also Sorrento. No under-19 match. Sorrento doesn't have an under-19 team, so 4 points to the Frankston Bombers. Well done to them without having to raise a sweat. Looking at the reserves, a win to Sorrento, the Sharks winning 9-9, 63 to 6-4, 40. And in the seniors, an excellent result, 12-11, 83 to 11-7, 73. Our guest, former Bulldog and Gold Coast Sun, played 95 games for those two clubs. Jared Grant kicked 3 goals. And Jared, you got off to a great start. That certainly helped your cause in your quest for victory.
Yeah, to be honest, we were down 2 goals to none, but we worked our way back in the first quarter. And
what a great day for footy, though.
Beautiful
Jared.
day for footy. I've had a couple. I've had a couple out there already. But the rain's been coming in sideways, so it's good to be out at Bomberland, where, as you know, Tony,
no protection, is there?
It can get quite muddy
straight
there.
Off the old mud plains, and
so it was a good day for footy at this time of year, definitely.
And so the fact that you were taking on a team that had beaten you in the grand final, we mentioned earlier, was, I mean, I suppose the grand final's totally different, and you didn't play in that match last year. Did you get the feel that the team were up for this one and they needed to win because, as Tony said, the season would have been in dire straits at 3 and 5 and out 4 and 4. You're right back in the picture.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, like you say, I don't have a lot to do with the rivalry as such, but I felt during the week and pre-game and especially after the match how much it meant to this club.
Yeah.
Look, some guys and the coach drove inspiration on the fact that some of these players haven't beaten Sorrento for 4 to 6 years. Some of the players, so it's a first win in a rivalry that's been quite intense for the last few years. So. I definitely felt the vibe from the other players that have been involved.
Now, Mitch Hallahan was a teammate of yours at the Gold Coast, played at Hawthorn as well and dominated at VFL level with Box Hill. Much banter out there with him, of course, playing for Sorrento?
We both liked being on the same team and giving it out, but we didn't have too much to say to each other.
He's a wonderful inside player though, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, like we said, I used to call him the pig actually, and the muddy conditions would have suited him nicely on the weekend. But I've got the 2-0 win-loss versus him now. We beat him in the Footscray VFL Grand Final versus Box Hill, and now Bombers versus Sorrento. So I'm 2 up, but I'm sure we'll meet again later in the year down at their home ground.
Was he unlucky he didn't play more senior footy?
I think last year he averaged around 36 touches in the twos. So anyone consistently putting up those numbers probably deserves a crack. He played probably 4 or 5 games late in the year, but look, like I said about my career, sometimes you just know that they're going to turn some players over, and he was an unlucky one.
The fact that Chris Dawes didn't play and also Luke Tapscott obviously helped, but take nothing away from your team. You can only come up against who you play against. Did that change the way you played, knowing that 2 of their better credentialed players with their AFL experience were not lining up for them?
Oh, I mean, obviously, those 2 are going to, improve Sorrento's team and who's running out on the park. But like you say, we can only compete against who's out there. And look, taking nothing away from our players, some boys had some jobs on some players that did well, and yeah, we came away with the points on this occasion.
And the thing with Dawes, he hasn't played for 3 or 4 weeks now, and Tapscott injured himself in the last home and away game before the break. I think he did his hamstring, so they were always going to struggle to get up. Dawsey gives them a wonderful target, and what he does is he gives them a really good focus to hit to. But the thing is, you still got to win the ball, don't you? You've still got to play that contested football and make good decisions along the way. They're a really good side at pressing up on you, Dan. And the way you guys executed, and Sam Fox is a wonderful finisher, and he was able to be one of those guys who finished off late in the game with one of the sealers. Yeah,
Sam's obviously a highly credentialed player. Look, I'd never met him before coming into this year, but I've been really impressed with what he offers. Probably spent more time in the midfield over the last few weeks.
Yeah.
Mitch Boswood's come back for us, our captain, so it allows us to utilise him forward, and I think he kicked 3 majors for the day. Which,
I noticed that Brett Sutton come back in too.
Yeah, an experienced player that, it's not a household name, I guess, for other clubs, but both the Sutton brothers crack in and provide a contest. And the one thing I've noticed about a lot of our teammates is they have a never say die attitude, and whether we're down or up, the boys will just keep cracking in.
What do you see as your main role? I mean, obviously you're a great finisher. We saw that at AFL level. Do you see that as one of your main roles, or do you also see it as being a player that has to provide leadership?
I think I'd provide leadership regardless of what my role was. Look, I think I see the game really well, and Bo calls on me at times when he's a bit iffy on situations and whatnot as to what I think. So my relationship with Bo's been really good. Really enjoying playing underneath him.
And I think it's important to utilise that experience. You've got Nathan Loney there as your runner as well, and to have a Nathan and Bo there, but Mitch Boswood is captain VFL Frankston, so you got wonderful experience.
Yeah, there's probably 4 or 5 guys that have come from the VFL program there at Dolphins that have come into the Bombers team over the last few years. So there's no standout leaders, but as a combination of us all, we're just getting the job done quietly.
Ryan Marks Logan's playing really good football, isn't he? He's a wonderful, consistent player, gets the job done every week. But what he does do, I think he reads the ball well.
Yeah, he backs himself in, takes marks, probably a little bit of a similar build to myself. He's, you know, not a big hulking type, but he's probably the intercept player, third tall that plays in our back line. So he's having a really strong year.
After a sluggy start, as we said, you're now 4-4. You probably can't afford too many slip-ups now because it is a tight comp.
Yeah, it is a tight comp. Look, I think the top 4 teams are playing each other this weekend, which is good for, I guess, the rest of the comp as such. So, you know, a win this weekend will, you know, prolong us to look at that top 3.
But you're playing Rosebud, sorry to interrupt, you're playing Rosebud, who just beat YC on the weekend. So you look at the competition, there's no easy games.
What's great?
Yeah, I was listening obviously to Luke speak before about the lower division as such, and you said the same thing, and I think you know, it's a testament to what the competition's done with the tiered system, and as you can see by the results, there hasn't been any blowouts, and like you say, games are tight every week. We've got 4 losses on the board, and 3 of them have really been by under 2 goals.
So most of your teammates like the fact you've got 2 divisions, and most games are crucial, particularly in the second division and the bottom part of the first division. Obviously you want to win a premiership in the first division, where you're trying to stay up in first division, and second division you're trying to get up to first division.
Oh, it's not really talked about too much, to be honest, but we know basically every week that, you know, like you say, you have to come on your game, otherwise, you know, any team can beat you on the day. Evident as, obviously, you said Rosebud knocked off YCW on the weekend.
I mean, YC aren't travelling that well at the moment. Got a few injuries and all that sort of stuff. So it all just depends on the makeup of sides.
Yeah, well, look, I'm sure YC will call on some of their VFL players come the end of the year to come and refill their stocks.
It might be a bit different though, Jared. Like Frankston this year, a lot of the boys, if you play 11 games or more, then you know, in the past they've been playing at Bulldogs, Collingwood. So this year they're playing. There's Frankston's back in the competition. Yep. So LaFontaine and Lilac and all that. I don't think that they'll see any finals action.
Yeah, well, I mean, at this point in time, every team is capable of winning on their day. So we're not taking any team lightly. And whilst we haven't been beaten comprehensively by any team, we could ultimately be 7-1. But here we sit 4-4. So.
Well, the Pines played Mornington, as we look at other results in the seniors, and the Pines 15-9-99. Mornington have been pretty competitive, Tony, 11-11-77.
Yeah, and they're always in the hunt, and they were right in that game. But
just like a bit of polish.
Aaron Edwards kicked 7.
He did.
Yeah.
Rosebud, you talked about that. Great win for the Buds, 10-12-72, their best win of the season. Frankston YCW 10-7-67. Bond Beach, too good for Seaford, 14-8-92. The Sharks over 6-12-48. And a pretty tight game between Edith Vale, Aspendale and Mount Eliza, who will rue poor kicking. 25 scoring shots by the Redlegs. Edith Vale, Aspendale 12-12-84 to 9-16-70.
And Dan, on that, I think Edith Vale in the second quarter kicked 6 or 7 goals to really open the game up, and then Mount Eliza just had to play catch-up football.
In the reserves, Mornington beat the Pines by 14 points. The Bombers went down to Sorrento, as we mentioned, by 23. Rosebud, they lost to Frankston YCW 10-7-67 to 7-7-49. Bond Beach were thrashed by Seaford 10-7-67 to 2-4-16. And Mount Eliza had a comprehensive 53-point triumph over Edith Vale Aspendale 15-12-102 to 7-7-49. And in the under-19s, the matches that were played, Pines beat Mornington by 19 points. Frankston YCW had a 104-point thrashing of Rosebud. Bond Beach had a 30-point win over Seaford, and Mount Eliza managed to down Edith Vale Aspendale by 21 points. As we look at the ladders now, we'll start with the under-19s, and after 7 rounds, Mount Eliza, 7 wins. I'll just quickly mention their percentage because they're dominating. 503.42, and they're undefeated on 28 points. You would think from here they'd finish on top. Frankston YCW 24, Edith Vale Aspendale 20, Mornington are 4th with 16, Pines 5th with 12, just ahead of percentage from Bond Beach on 12. In the reserves, looking at the ladder situation there, Mount Eliza on top on 28, Frankston YCW 28, Seaford 24, Edith Vale Aspendale in 4th on 20, and making up the top 5, Sorrento on 22 games clear of Rosebud. And in the seniors, Sorrento, despite losing 24 points, their percentage 4% better than Frankston YCW 24. Edith Vale Aspendale 24, not a great percentage. Mount Eliza 124.57 on 20. Hines in 5th position on 16. Frankston Bombers 16, as we've spoken about. Bond Beach on 16, very tight in the percentage difference between them and the Bombers. And then a big gap to Rosebud on 10, Seaford on 6, and Mornington sitting on the bottom, but a lot more competitive than their position would indicate, Tony, on 4 points.
You talk about close games. They've lost 3 or 4 under 10 points as well, Jared.
Yeah, just great for the comp. I think that there's plenty of tight games every week at the moment, and no one's getting blown away, which gives great confidence to not only the coaches but the players every week when they turn up.
That's right.
Now, Jared, you've got the goal kickers in front of you for the Division 1. Maybe if you tell us the top 4.
Yeah, Geordie Moncrief. So we just sold his dad's place actually. So
that's a good
there.
one,
Did you get a good price for it?
Yeah, got a great price. Don't worry about that. He's hands and heels away at the moment. He's on 26. Pohulk, sorry if that's the wrong pronunciation, but he was held to 1 on the weekend. Trent Dennis Lane from Bomb Beach is in 3rd on 20 goals. Jimmy Friedman at Mount Eliza, so the big 2 spearheads there have been.
I heard Dennis Lane's done his shoulder, so he's going to miss.
Gone for the year.
I heard that he's going to miss at least 3 or 4.
Now, Pohulk, of course, is the older brother of the Adelaide player, isn't he?
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
Yeah, Miles.
And Azza Edwards kicked 7 on the weekend, so good to see him up and running again, coming off that ACL.
And Jared, some of the players you've come up against, I mean, the thing about this competition is being pretty close to Melbourne. You've got a lot of ex-AFL players in there yourself, Aaron Edwards, Luke Tapscott, Chris Dawes, we've touched on them. Who are some of the best players you've come up against this year?
I mean, to be honest, I enjoyed playing against, obviously, Pines.
He played well against the Pines, didn't he?
Yeah, played well against the Pines.
Boswell lined up on you early and they had to take him off you, didn't they?
We won't disregard Boz. He's had a great year
he's
so
a
far.
great player, but he's an attacking backman, right? He's an attacking backman that they needed, and then what I understand is that they put somebody a little bit more close checking on you.
Yeah, that's what happened basically, Blakers.
He gave the great man too much space early, did he?
He did.
Yeah, I grew up playing a lot of footy with Luke Potts, so it was great to play in the same game as him and have a chat afterwards.
Lovely guy, Luke.
Lovely guy. He's got the most out of himself from not only a VFL but a local level. But it's good, like you say, to chat to some of the former AFL players just about the transition to, obviously...
it's not easy.
No, it's not easy, and just back to, I guess you would quote it, real life, but just about their change to local footy as well, and how they've enjoyed it so far.
Now, we were talking about some of the best players you've come up against. You better also tell us who... ranked as some of the best players in the GameFace Player of the Year award.
Yeah, well, we've got Rosebud this week, and there's 2 at the top of the ladder here. Greg Bentley and Sean Downey are leading the way. Paul Scanlon, the big fella there inside, is getting the job done at Pines.
He's a big strong ox, isn't he?
Yeah, I didn't want to get in his way in a hurry. Who else have we got here? Kyle Hutchison, another guy that's the same age as me that I grew up in juniors with. He's been an outstanding player in local level for many years. Who we got there? We got Jackson Casey from Bomb Beach and Brett O'Hanlon from Edie, who sat in front of me last week and did a good job. So yeah, they're the top 8 at the moment.
Good on you, Jared. Thanks for that. Plenty happening, of course, in our football show. Still lots to talk about, and we'll come back with more in a second. Are you looking for new ways to promote your business? Well, why not advertise on the GameFace Footy Show? Packages start from as little as $500, which include commercials on the show, naming rights to segments, infomercials in the app, and more. And if you really want to get noticed, you could become the major sponsor of the show. Packages are limited, so contact GameFace now to get started by going to www.gamefaceon.com.au. Welcome back to the GameFace Football Show. Dan Lonergan here, and I'm joined now by Josh Moore, who has been an outstanding coach for the Rye Football Club over the last few years, and he's going to be a regular on our program every Thursday night because he's also had a very important role with the interleague team as the under-19 coach, and this particular segment's all going to be about Team of the Week, and we're going to have Josh give us the under-19 Division 2 Team of the Week. Welcome, Josh. Great to have you with us.
Thanks, Dan. Really good to be here. Pleasure to be a part of the show. and really excited for what it's in store for the coming weeks ahead.
Now, the selection terms for your team of the week. No doubt a lot of pressure on you to try and come up with the best team, and not everyone's going to agree, and we'll go through that process in a second, but it's all on you to try and pick the best team possible.
Yeah, certainly not an easy job. Obviously, we're 7 games into the season for Division 2, so the first team of the week this week is a combination of those 7 games. So I've gone back over the 7 games, had a look at the kids that have been in form and who have stood out. Quite a few of the under-19 kids have been playing senior football, so they've put their name up for selection for this first game. But there's also been a few kids that have been playing really good, consistent footy in the under-19s, and they've also, you'll see in a couple of minutes, a few of those kids will have made the team as well.
So the fact that they've played a lot of senior football, and you did say that you'll try and select a few of them, indicates that they've obviously fast-tracked themselves beautifully, so they must be in contention, mustn't they?
Yeah, it certainly helps if they're playing senior football, and if they're playing good senior football, obviously they're well in contention. But just quickly on that, I think a lot of the teams in Division 2 and a lot of the clubs and a lot of the coaches should take a lot of credit, because we've got a lot of under-19 kids at the moment playing senior football, which is a credit to the players and the coaches in our competition.
Well, it's a fantastic competition. Now, as I said, not everyone's going to agree. It is just an opinion, and this is an opinion-based industry. And we want your feedback, and we want your feedback on the GameFace Facebook as well for Josh's team of the week. As I say, the pressure's on him. He's an outstanding coach at under-19 level and also at senior level. I back him to make sure that this team is absolutely 100% right. But what do I know? I don't know a great deal. But anyway, Josh, we better go through the team of the week and see what you've come up with for Division 2.
Okay, so we've got the Division 2 team of the week for the under-19. Obviously, this is a team from the first 7 weeks, and I'm really looking forward to getting everyone's feedback. Not an easy job, but here we go. So starting from the back line, in the back pocket, we've got Kalani Ryan, Jay Smith and S. Mitchell. Our half back line is Z Martin, that's Zane Martin from Somerville, Topple Scaife from Coringal, and Jack Harms from Devon Meadows on the other back flank. Through the centre line, Luke Daniel, Nick Rosen and Brad Williams. Our half forward line is Nathan Villala, William Gertz, Jared Sullivan on the other half forward flank. Full forward line is Haskett, Whitford and Treep. And then in the rucks, we've got Liam O'Halloran, Jack Hill and Ned Shannon. We do have an extended bench. So we've got Matt Garn, who was rested back from Stingrays, played at Red Hill on the weekend. He's on the bench with Aidan Marquezani, Foy, Reed, Robbins and Lockie Hind. So as you can tell, it's a pretty star-studded team, and a team that I'd love to be coaching at under-19 level.
And it would win by 100 points, you reckon, Josh? Every week?
Yeah, you'd like to think so. I think there's a couple of genuine stars in there. More than half of that team, I think 15 out of the 24 are actually playing senior football at the moment. So yeah, there's quite a bit of talent in there.
Well, hopefully you agree with it. If you don't, you're allowed to get your feedback on the Facebook, on GameFace. Thanks, Josh. We look forward to getting the team of the week for Division 1 next week. And Josh Moore will be a big part of our program every week on the GameFace Footy Show. This week's GameFace Footy Show is proudly brought to you by You First Real Estate. Call 5925 9278 or visit youfirstrealestate.com.au. Low Farms, the Australian grower and supplier of rocket, lettuce, spinach and salad mixes. Hewison Private Wealth, giving you expert financial advice. Wilson Parking, safe and secure parking. And St Andrews Brewery, using the finest ingredients, ensuring each beer is full of flavour and character. Thanks again to Josh Moore for his Division 2 under-19 team. He's had to get away. He's got kids to pick up, coffees to make, coffees to sell, and footy teams to manage. Let's look now at the team of the week for Division 2 seniors and also team of the week for Division 1 seniors. Now, Chris Holcomb has put together the Division 1 seniors team. He, of course, is the interleague coach. He's not here today. Lucky man has been at Monaco watching the Grand Prix. Daniel Ricciardo having a wonderful victory. I think driving most of the second half of the race in 5th gear. How he did that is beyond me. Now, just quickly going over the selection terms again. Not everyone will agree. What's the old saying? Opinions are like backsides. One of my favourite sayings, boys. We've all got one. So we want your feedback. It'll be posted on the GameFace Facebook. And again, this is the opinion of some learned gentlemen about the teams so far in the early stages of the season. Jared Grant is going to read the Division 1 team, courtesy of Chris Holcomb. But Blackers, all yours, mate, for Division 2 so far after 7 rounds.
Thanks, Dan. So what I've done is I've put together what I think is the best side so far on form over the first 6 weeks. Andy McGuinness from Coringal, Kirkwood from Rye in the back line, and Patterson from Langwarren, who's been in outstanding form, all 3 of those guys. Matty Hayden from the Red Hill Football Club on the half-back flank. He's a really good user of the ball and good rebounding. Jonas Iverson from the Red Hill Football Club, intercept mark. He's had an outstanding start to the year. Tyrone Head has been the best player in the competition so far on the half-back flank. Sean Foster from the Hastings Football Club. Gardner from Chelsea Football Club has had a great start to the season, and Jake Mitchell from the Red Hill Football Club. In the forward line, I think we've got a really good forward line. Michael Burke from the Coringal Football Club, Tommy Baker at centre half forward, come back from Casey, and Rye Football Club have really reaped the rewards from a good pre-season from Tom. And on the other half forward flank is Luke Hewitt from the Hastings Football Club. In the forward pocket is Ethan Johnson, great little forward pocket player, kicked 4 on the weekend. So Jesse Murphy kicked 7 from the Langwarren Football Club at full forward, and Curtis Bywater, he kicked 6. In the ruck, this could have gone to a couple of people. I think Grant Goodall's a little bit unlucky, but I've given it to Harry Pryor. He's been really influential. That's a hard word.
Influential.
Yeah. In Pearsedale's wins, McGuinness from Somerville, and Fletcher from the Devon Meadows Football Club. On the bench, I've got 6 players. Nathan Gillis was unlucky not to be in the starting 18. So was James Brain from the Chelsea Football Club. Billy Quigley from Dramana. Jake Mould from the Red Hill Football Club. Ben Holmes, he's got a bit of an injury at the moment, but his first half of the season's been really good. And Mathers from Coringal Football Club makes up my top 6.
Very influential and brilliantly read.
I got that mixed up there, but got through it all pretty well, Dan.
You're doing a great job, Blackers. Now, Jared, you have got the team of the week for First Division, courtesy of Chris Holcomb, as we said.
He's over there
in Monaco watching Daniel Ricciardo have that great win at the Grand Prix, 2nd of the year.
Yeah, we've disregarded Chris. It's the You First Real Estate first 7 rounds of the year team of the week. So,
where are you? Where's
You First Real Estate? So in Mornington.
Just moved down there.
Just moved down. Beautiful down there. 592-592-78 if you want to give us a call. But from the backs, we've got Barry, Ongalello and Street. The half-back flank, Marston, Warwick Miller and O'Hanlon. From the centres, we've got James Hallahan and the 2 Pines boys, Scanlon in the guts and Potty on the other wing. Half-forward flanks are Sam Fox and Dale Sutton from my club, and centre forward Bentley. Full forward line, Dennis Lane, Moncrief and Pohulk, and in the rucks, Terrich, Kyle Hutchison and Downey. On the interchange bench, we've got from Tapscott, Debenham, McLeod, Hobbs, Ben Northover and Joel Miller, and first emergency was Jared Grant, according to this list.
You're not far away, you couldn't be far away.
Yeah, couldn't be far away, Jared.
Now, Moncrief, of course, is Michael Moncrief's son. Michael Moncrief played in a couple of premierships for the Hawks in 76, 78. I mean, underrated player, kicked 100 goals in the season. Tony, so
he's a very good number 6, I think it was.
He was. Gladys, as they called him. Don't know why they called him Gladys, but he was a magnificent player. Jared, thanks for joining us. Great to have you with us. Wonderful you're back in the competition where you started your career. Congratulations on an outstanding AFL career. Good luck with the real estate and good luck with the Frankston Bombers for the rest of the year. And hopefully we'll have you on again, particularly close to the finals when the Bombers are in the hunt.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. No doubt the show will get bigger and better from here, so just a low-key player, really.
No, you're one of the whippers. Jared Grant joining us on the GameFace Footy Show. Coming up next, we go from one superstar to another. Barry Michael, one of the all-time boxing greats, is our next guest. Dynamic Staffing Solutions. We act immediately to supply your business with quality staffing and labour solutions. Hey girls, are you looking for a night out? Well, the Cranbourne Racing Centre has the night for you. Appropriately called the Girls' Night Out, Saturday, June 30th. Loads of giveaways, tarot card readers, and also a beauty parlour, which you'll absolutely love. There's a band Bosley and a comedian Dan Connell from 6 p.m. Ladies, you must dress to impress. Tickets $75 at the Cranbourne Racing Centre on Saturday, June 30th. If you haven't already booked your club's team photos, now is the time to contact GameFace. GameFace provide professional team photography, services that expand into popular and engaging social media content for your club. For no additional fee, see your team and player photos transformed into exciting social media content for players, parents and supporters to enjoy. It's important you act now to take advantage of this very unique service. One of our regulars on the GameFace Footy Show every week really needs no introduction, but I'm going to give him one anyway. He's one of the all-time greats of Australian boxing. 60 fights, 48 wins, and a former IBF super featherweight boxing champion and one of the great promoters of the sport. He's done so much for the sport while competing and since he's retired, and that is Barry Michael. Baz, great to have you with us and great to have you part of the GameFace Footy Show every week.
Thanks, Dan. Great to be part of the GameFace Footy program. Great to be alongside you. We haven't seen each other for a few years, mate, but some great memories.
Now, Baz, you've got a massive announcement for us regarding a big boxing event occurring later in the year.
Sure do, Dan. It's going to be the GameFace No Regrets Boxing Challenge, November the 2nd at the Cranbourne racetrack. It's going to be something else. So any player from the clubs down that area can put their hand up. You know, who's the toughest guy in your club? If he wants to have a crack, they can fight 3 2-minute rounds with big gloves and head guards, but it'll be serious and they'll get paid the same amount of money as professional boxers do, and it'll be exciting. It'll be incredibly exciting, and we expect thousands to view this. At least 3 or 4 professional bouts culminating in some kind of a championship fight.
You have to be a current player?
Yes, you have to be a current registered player, under 19 reserves or seniors.
And what about coaches and presidents? Can they get in the ring? Could you maybe have a special event for them?
We'd consider it. We would seriously look at it and consider it if we had a couple of good protagonists against each other. Maybe you've got a bit of a history between clubs. Certainly would consider it, Dan.
Now, we already have some players interested in being involved in the No Regrets Boxing Challenge organised by GameFace. Bailey Frey of Coringal, and he mentioned that, of course, at the luncheon you attended last week, Baz. Maddie Clark from Edithvale, Aspendale, Lee Snooks from Rosebud, and Byron Barry. Now, that's a boxing name if ever I've heard one from YCW.
It's a pleasure to be working alongside GameFace, yourself, Dan, and Glenn Carter. It's going to be something else.
And don't forget, get your GameFace on. Well, that's it for our first footy show, the GameFace Footy Show. They'll be with us every single Thursday night from 7:30, an opportunity for you to watch it when you're getting ready, of course, to hear your name selected for the footy on the weekend when you're having your tea. Make sure you get it on your GameFace app, and you can download your GameFace app. I've got it. Blackers, I hope you've got it. Jared, I know you've got it, to get the results every single week, and we look forward to be back here again next week. Enjoy your footy and may the best team win.